Hey, what's up? It's Comic95, the Savior, and for this video, once again, I want to talk about a stupid thing that I saw online. I believe it was on Threads, and I mentioned this inside of a previous video, or prior video. I don't know which order I'm going to upload everything, so please excuse me if you didn't see that video in advance, but more than likely I would have uploaded that before this, so please go back and watch those videos to help you understand. I believe the last video where I talked about this was dealing with like the whole rumor on why Japanese people are so healthy, live so long, and I kind of debunked it like, yeah, like they're healthier weight-wise, but I wouldn't really say that consuming heavy amounts of alcohol, starving yourselves, and eating a diet of 80% rice is quite exactly healthy, but okay. But anyway, and also the lying of kids' favorite snack being broccoli. Like, come on. But anyway, back on subject. Yeah. I wanted to talk about an interesting thread that I saw. So I'm not going to even bother to quote it. And I'm pretty sure it came from Threads. And I want to make this very clear. On my channel, my goal is never... I'm not a beef channel. My goal is not to fight. Look, I'm good at arguing. I can go there. But my goal is not to argue with the person. I want to talk about the topic at hand, not attack the person. Which is why even like when I answer questions like dating advice, etc., like I don't talk about the actual person. Like I don't say their name, I don't show their picture, I don't share screenshots, because my goal is to talk about the topic, not to embarrass, humiliate, or hurt someone, but rather I want to either inform or help someone that might be in the same situation. And in this case, I'm talking about a topic that bothers me as an American myself. So anyway, this woman claims that she's Japanese. Who knows? Because a lot of people lie, pretend to be Japanese on social media. There's also half Japanese people that like to tell. It's really hard to explain, but like I noticed this, again, another video that I can make. A lot of people that are half Japanese, they hate that Japanese people don't see them as being Japanese. So they enjoy hanging out and being around foreigners because they see them as being Japanese. So for example, people that are half white, half Japanese, or even people that are Blasian, people that are half black, half Japanese, when they're around other black people or other white people, they can get that pat on the back as being Japanese. They can label themselves as Blasian or Hafu or whatever you want to call yourself. But saying that to an actual Japanese person, you get othered into the foreigner box. Like, they acknowledge that you are half Japanese if you let them know, but you don't get to call yourself Japanese, so to speak. They treat you like you're not Japanese, and they will correct you. Oh, like half Japanese, foreigner. Like, they speak to you like you're a tourist. So anyway, back on subject. I just noticed that. But not as in just right now, but like I'm saying that I just noticed. It's like I know that this is so. But anyway, this is my thing. So she claims that she goes to Costco, and I think she said that she like got a sample. Costco, Japan. And then she dropped the sample that she had, and after she dropped it, she picked it up, put it in the trash, and that the staff was surprised that she did that, and they actually told her that they were. And they asked her, you know, if she was American or something like that. Either they asked her if she was American or they asked if she was Japanese. And whatever the question was, she responded that she was Japanese. And the Japanese staff member went on, according to her thread, we don't know if this is true or not, but she went on to say how she's surprised because Americans don't pick up after themselves, and this is her first time seeing this, and you know, went on with a whole thing like that. And all I could just think to myself is, so anyway, the Japanese girl that made this thread was essentially patting herself on the back for being a fellow Japanese person, like the person who ignorantly praised her for cleaning up the mess that she made. And I had mixed feelings towards it. And so the reason why this was brought up inside my last video was, I gave an example of me knocking down an item off of a shelf, like on one of those side shelves that like hang inside of a bag. It was some chocolate covered peanuts, like some cluster nuts, whatever. That sounds so nasty. I'm immature, I'm sorry you guys. Cluster nuts. But anyway, back on subject. It was like hanging on the side shelf, and I hit it with my basket. Oh my god, the store is called My Basket. I hit it with my... Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm sorry. Sorry, y'all. I'm a millennial, right? I'm cringe at heart. I can't help it. But anyway, back on subject. So yeah, like, I picked it up, and I got a little upset, because I'm like, you know, this staff member was rude, and I made other videos talking about that. I actually went to the manager, and we got that sorted out. And really, the word is racist, not rude. But that's not because of this incident, but a string of incidents over the past 2 years. But watch those videos if you want to know what happened. Not going to talk about it for this video. I mentioned how when I picked it up, he acted like I was supposed to have done it, kind of like he just looks like, oh, okay, she grabbed it, whatever. Didn't thank me, didn't apologize, didn't even try to check to see if he's the one who knocked it over. He didn't even ask. Like, he just was like, oh, well, she picked it up. I feel that if you work at a store, it's your job if a customer knocks something over to clean it up, really. Is it good manners for you to pick it up as a customer? Of course. I was raised to do that. I would never let the staff do that on my behalf unless they insist on doing it themselves. But I am saying, even if you let the customer do it, you should thank them for picking up the item. That's how I feel. but not gonna go there. It made me think back to this situation. So I should also add, I didn't complain to the manager because he didn't thank me for picking this up. This was a small little thing that he did that went together with other things that this person did. So watch that video if you want to know the full story. But back on subject. All I can do is think to myself is, one, why do Japanese people feel so comfortable sharing stories in which they're literally being racist and giving backhanded compliments? Because if you are Japanese, that is not as endearing as you think it sounds. Like, I get it, a lot of Americans kiss Japan's ass, and I imagine, I don't remember what the comments were, but I imagine what they are. People saying, oh yeah, like, Americans are so bad. I used to work retail, X, Y, and Z, and it's like, yeah, sure, there's bad apples everywhere, but I don't recall ever experiencing that when I worked at, any store. Like, sure, don't get me wrong, some people do leave places a mess. There are messy shelves in the U.S., I'm not going to lie to you. But if somebody spills something and knocks something over, generally speaking, if we have the means to clean it up, we will. Like, for example, a sample. People don't leave samples on the floor because they knock it over. And if anything, if you're not going to do nothing because you can't, let's say that you spilled a liquid. I don't know if it was a liquid or a solid. You would alert the staff member, let them know, I'm sorry, I knocked this over, I spilled this, so that they can clean it up. That's what we would normally do. I don't know why they get some sort of, sick thrill out of trying to make it seem almost like dehumanizing people that are not Japanese, where they constantly have to remind you that they have better manners and are more polite than you are, according to them, which I find very interesting because they pride themselves on this fake politeness and respectfulness, but then they're racist. So those two things don't go hand in hand. That's like being an honest person, but you're a thief. Okay, sure, verbally you tell people the truth, but if you're stealing shit from people, I don't consider that's a part of honesty. You're being deceptive. You're taking things that aren't yours. In this case, I don't care about you bowing and saying please and thank you, when at the same time, in that same breath, you're holding this mindset that you're superior to me. You have low expectations. You can't touch my hand because I'm a dirty foreigner. You can't sit or stand too close to me because I have cooties. I'm sorry, that's not polite. That's not respectful. But the Japanese don't view it that way, and apparently you all don't either. I mean, just think about that. Can you imagine saying that to an Asian person? Imagine if me in the U.S., if I were to say to an Asian person, just assuming, because I don't know where they're from, right? And I see them open up their lunch on the train or whatever. I'm from Chicago, so taking the metro train, 'cause that's the nicer train to take, right? I see somebody open up, their lunch. They're getting ready, to start eating. And I say to the person next to me, oh, I'm surprised your lunch doesn't stink. I know Asians normally have smelly lunches. You must be an American. Now, granted, let's say that they are Asian American. That's a backhanded compliment. I'm literally praising you for having food that doesn't stink. I'm also inflicting a stereotype on you by insinuating that Asians eat smelly food, which, fine, granted, yeah, some of their food does smell bad, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's insulting. It's not appropriate to say, especially not to a stranger. If it's your friend or family member, then fine, go at it. But a complete stranger? Not to mention, it's a backhanded compliment. And then the fact that you felt proud, basically, because you decided to go home and tweet about it, but basically no context. They didn't say that it was bad that the person said that. They felt good about themselves, oh, I guess other people in America don't do this. I guess that I'm a unicorn. It must be my Japanese, the way that I was raised. And it's oh my God. They truly think that the average American, if they knock something over, they don't pick it up. I can assure you that even if you work retail, while it is easy to focus on your bad customers, the majority of people that go through your line are friendly, or at least they're neutral. And the majority of people that make messes inside your store, they do clean them up behind themselves. If everyone or the average person did not clean up, I worked at a super Walmart in a big ass, racist ass white neighborhood. And trust me, that store, it got messy. I used to work in apparel. There will be clothes all over the place sometimes, but you want to know what? The majority of people, when you watch them, when they don't want something, they put it back where it belongs. They fold it nicely. If everyone that touched something in the clothing department put stuff back in the wrong spot, it would never get organized properly while I was there. But because the average person did put things where they go, there wasn't so much to do. Was it busy? Was there a lot to do? Was it disorganized? Yes, it will be disorganized by every shift that I have. That's true. And that is the difference between Japan and the U.S. I'll give them credit there. Generally speaking, more people do put things back where they go. But also, it would be an exaggeration to say that the majority of Americans don't put things back where they belong. And in this case, it's not even a matter of putting an item in the wrong spot or folding it the right way. You're trying to tell me that the majority of Americans that drop a sample aren't going to pick it up? Come on, don't bullshit yourself. Not just that, you're full of shit. Because for you to be working a retail job such as Costco in Japan, the likelihood of you even having experience having even visited the US is slim to none. And if you did visit the US, you sure as hell didn't work there. So if you weren't working there, more than likely weren't living there, how the fuck do you know what people do when they knock stuff over? Specifically a sample or a liquid or some sort of solid food-like item. See how they make up these little stereotypes and scenarios inside their mind? You're working retail. You're making 1,000 yen per an hour. There ain't no way in hell your ass has experience enough in the US where you've either visited there long enough or you've lived there long enough and also worked there to have an opinion on what American customers are like. But see, they make up this shit about you and they run and they tell their friends, they literally said the story allegedly to this complete stranger who they didn't even know whether she was Japanese or not. Do you see how bold that is? And then the fact that I can see how they said it too, with a straight face, not thinking anything of it. And that's what I felt too. When people see how I act, the respectfulness, thanking them and whatnot. Oh, you act very Japanese. I literally had a student that believed, he was a really nice student. I felt bad, but he believed in all this crazy shit. And he was convincing me that he believed that I was reincarnated and that in my previous life he literally said this to me, that in my previous life that I was a Japanese person. And he was implying that because I had Japanese mannerisms, I was Japanese in my prior life. He gave me this book and I was feeling like it was kind of messing with my life, so I threw it away and I felt really bad. Because he literally gave me the book that he had on hand that was about this religion or whatever he was a part of. And yeah, anyway, long story short, he kind of went off the deep end. But I was thinking to myself, no, this nigga's dead ass. He's Japanese. He's serious. He legitimately thinks, but he's complimenting me, but it's backhanded. You're essentially insulting me. You're implying that my kindness is because I'm like you. Because in order for me to be an American, I have to be selfish, rude, and inconsiderate, and ignorant of every other culture. Not to mention, no sir, it's not a matter of being Japanese or adopting cultures from being here. I'm a Christian and my mother raised me as a Christian should be raised, and I read my Bible and I listen to Christians and I watch Christian content and listen to Christian podcasts. I understand how I'm supposed to treat other people, how I should act and behave. And also, again, personality differences. I may be an American, but I'm also black. I'm not a party person. I don't do drugs. I don't have tattoos. It's not because I'm trying to be Japanese. A lot of you guys think that I have bangs because I'm here. Well, sure, I'm not going to lie to myself. It encouraged me to keep my bangs, but I've had bangs since I was 10 or 11 years old, before I even knew where Japan was on a map, before I even had the idea to come and live here. So, sorry to break it to you. But anyway, yeah, it's insulting. Why would you say that to someone? Not to mention, why are you lying to yourself? Do some Americans leave messes inside of stores? Sure, I know they do because I work there. Do some Americans feel like it's the staff's job to clean up behind you? Sure, but I will also say there's truth to that. At the end of the day, it is the staff's job to clean up behind yourself. You're not going to get banned from kicked out of the store if you spill something and make a mess. Granted, as long as you don't purposefully keep doing it. But if you make a mistake, you're not even required to say sorry as a customer. It's good manners to do it, but it's not required of you. So also, I feel like it's a stupid thing where it's an unwritten rule that while you don't have to clean up behind yourself, it's the right thing to do it though. And in this case, I'm sorry, but the average American, I would argue 9 out of 10, will pick up their mess if they spill something or drop something, and it's possible for them to clean it up. And if it's not possible for them to clean it up, for example, the average person is not walking around with paper towels and a mop in their bag. We don't even normally carry backpacks. We will at least alert a staff member that we spilled something, so that this way they could put a cone down and get maintenance to clean it up. Which is the reason why oftentimes maintenance and clean up and out, because otherwise, what's the likelihood of a staff member seeing that there was a spill somewhere? It normally takes a customer letting someone know. You don't have to love America or Americans. You are entitled to feel and think whatever you want about us. But I'm tired of people lying and making up stuff about what we do and what we don't do. And again, I'm not saying nobody's ever done that. But for you to pretend like this is the average American and that it's so taboo and weird for somebody to do the right thing that you have to actually acknowledge that this person, oh, wow, you cleaned up behind yourself. Wow. I mean, it'd be the equivalent of being surprised because you meet an American that's I don't know. I can't even think of an example. What the fuck are giving an example for that? That doesn't eat McDonald's for every meal. Do most of us eat McDonald's? Well, sure, just like most of you all go to fucking Yoshinoya and Matsuya and Sushido maybe at least once every couple of months or something like that. But does that mean that all of you eat that non-stop every day for every meal? That would be a stupid assumption to make about you. Well, actually, the funny thing is, while they have that label on us, they eat McDonald's arguably more than we do. I said this before in another video, but every McDonald's here stays busy, no matter where it's located, and they're very close, close together. I live in Ikebukuro, just here alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's at least 8, if not 10 of them just within the parameter of being here. I can walk to all 10 of them. Within an hour walk, I can go to 10 different McDonald's being here. And I'm not even in like the center of Ikebukuro. So anyway, and those are just the ones that I know of. But yeah, it's crazy to me that they feel so comfortable to say such an ignorant. I mean, even if it were true, let's say that all Americans, never do that. Why would you say that? Like, for example, I dated a Japanese guy that was very fit and muscular. In fact, I dated another guy, I call him Jimbo, but see, he was just getting started. He wasn't really fit and muscular. He was getting there. But this guy, he was completely fit, ripped, 6-packs, abs, all of that. His teeth were whitened. His teeth were better than mine. He had braces and everything. I have a gap. Here in Japan, they don't care about this type of stuff. My teeth, even in the U.S., nobody ever really bothered me, besides y'all bitches here on YouTube. But, like, people normally, I have a cute smile. Having perfect teeth does not mean that you have a nice smile. But anyway, back on subject. Anyway, it's like, even although, being honest, I'd never seen a Japanese person with teeth as white as his, with a body that was, and they were naturally white. They were not, veneers or some crap like that. And on top of that, body-wise, never saw a Japanese person in real life that I knew and dated that actually, was physically, muscular and whatnot. He was a handsome guy. And with that said, it's like, okay, it never occurred to me to tell him, wow, you must be American. Japanese men are weak and scrawny. Japanese men have yellow teeth. Their teeth are crooked. They're always throwing up gang signs. I never said that to them. Never crossed my mind when I see them doing something that I've never seen a Japanese person do to ignorantly say out loud. And I know him. I dated him. But it's like, these are total strangers to you. I didn't even say that to him. And I was fucking him. And it would never come out of my mouth to say, hey, I noticed you do this like how people where I'm from do. Because that would be a backhanded compliment. Now, granted, he's Japanese. He probably wouldn't see it as an insult. He'd be like, oh, yeah, I am different. But I recognize that's ignorant. And so even if the person doesn't take offense to it, it doesn't change that what I said isn't offensive. I said this before, but being honest, if I wanted to, I can joke about their eyes. They don't find that offensive here like how Asians do in the U.S. because they're the majority here, and they recognize that they do have small eyes. Now, granted, I actually have small eyes myself, but they're considered big here in Japan. It would never cross my mind to purposefully say racist and offensive things to them purposefully, unprovoked, just because I can. Even though they may not take offense to it, I still know that it's wrong, so I would never say that. But being honest, would they care? No. However, that's the problem. It's not about whether you care or not, because you might say, oh, well, they do that to you because they don't care about what people do to them. That's the point, though. It's not about what you don't care about. It's what the other person does care about. For example, you may have thick skin. But the person you're talking to, their skin might be rather thin. You may be able to handle somebody making a fat joke towards you. But it should be common sense that the average person doesn't want to be told that they're fat and people make fun of them and compare them to, Miss Piggy or some shit. Now maybe you can take a joke and you can laugh it off. But for another person, that could bring them to tears. For example, maybe you're okay with people making jokes about you being old in your age, but you say that to the wrong woman and it could bring her to tears. You may think that it's funny and it's just a joke, but the average person is going to take that personally and it will hurt them. Okay, using common sense as a Japanese person, they might not mind you making jokes about what they look like, but they do care about how you portray their people. So really it goes the same way. If you were to tell a Japanese person you think lowly of their people, they take offense to it. And some of them will argue with you and be ready to fight. They don't like you saying bad things about their country. But it's very interesting to have no problem saying bad stuff about yours. And this is one of them. You literally just insulted Americans and implied that we're entitled, we don't clean up behind ourselves, and we're rude. And you would not be okay with somebody saying that about your own people. Like, imagine if we said, wow, you didn't coerce your girlfriend to have sex with you? You let her wait till she was ready? You dated her for 6 months before you all even kissed? wow, I mean, I've dated a lot of Japanese guys, and I know how horny you guys are. You guys just love sex, and, you know, you have to have it nonstop all the time. You guys pay for it, and, you know, all these brothels and clubs and something. If I said that, they'd be so offended. But they don't think twice when they say shit like that to you. Wow, you're an American and you're ordering the salad? I'm never going to order the salad, by the way. But I'll order the salad with something else. But I'm just giving an example for you all, right? It just amazes me. So it's like, if it's not bad enough that the Japanese staff said that to you, you didn't correct them. And then on top of that, you're bragging about it on social media. Like, you feel proud of yourself. That, oh, wow. Like, what's that little TikTok thing? Like, does that mean I'm better than everyone? Whatever. Like, it's that sort of thing. Like, what? And you know that's a lie, because apparently you spend time in the U.S. you speak English because you wrote it, which makes me wonder, are you actually Japanese, or are you half Japanese, or are you actually just a white person cosplaying as a Japanese person? Because it's weird. Y'all be in my comment section sometimes too, people pretending to be Japanese when they're not. I'm not even talking about biracial people. Like, I'm putting them in a separate category. I'm saying, like, there's literally white and black people that will pretend to be 100% Japanese to get a point across because they want to disagree with you. So, especially when you talk about politics, suddenly there's so many Japanese people in my comment section that are perfect English speakers, but can't somehow manage to write a sentence that actually fucking makes sense, because I can't think of the word that I'm looking for. Is it comprehensive? Cohesive? I can't think of the word, y'all. Anyway, long story short, so yeah, it's like, how do you get the balls to say something like that to someone directly when you don't know where they're from, because they assume that you're a foreigner, which made me think that you are an American and that you are either half Japanese, or you might even be something else entirely. Who fucking knows? Because the fact they said that to you makes me believe they didn't think that you were Japanese. They had that low expectation for you, which is also another insult. The fact that you're expecting me to do wrong and fuck things up, which is the reason why I was saying to you guys before, y'all got mad at me, especially y'all feminist, liberal women. This is why I said I do not endorse dressing like a whore here. It's not that they're okay with you doing it because you're not Japanese. They have such a low standard for you, and they stereotypically believe that foreigners love sex and they're promiscuous, that when you're dressed like a whore, you're in your natural habitat. That is the reason why they're okay with it. It's still offensive. It's still inappropriate. It's still rude. And by you doing that, I know you're somewhere floating around in the dark web. Especially feeling your kids dress like that. Because a lot of y'all, you think your kids look like kids, but to a Japanese person, they don't. They look like they're grown. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen clearly what I know to be preteens. These European girls are like 5'8", 5'7", and whatnot. They're just tall, but they're with mommy and daddy, and so I can't help but to assume they must be underage. They're probably like 12, 11 years old, by looking at them. But they're wearing mini clothing, booty shorts and crop tank tops and whatnot, and you can literally see the Japanese guys with their goggly eyes, and the beach is a whole other story. Look, somebody need to do a documentary there. I know Ginza, Shibuya, Shinjuku, and I would say, I forgot the name of the beach, Ehime, I can't remember the name of the place. Enoshima. I promise you, there are men that hang out inside these places and just sneak videos and pictures and zoom the fuck in. It's so many people wearing shades and hats and pretending to be on their phones. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all are literally giving them you're literally, not free advertising, but free material to fap to. Free material to sell online somewhere. I'm just saying. So anyway, long story short, not gonna get into that for this video. But it's like, the bar is low for you, which is an insult. They're literally saying, we don't expect you to be able to do these things. So when you do, like I told you guys before, when I went to that teaching job, and she literally was talking to me on my way to, teach her class, because I was substituting. Oh, like, I'm surprised, like, you're wearing long sleeves, like, I know you're an American, so, like, she literally said it to me that because I was an American, she was expecting me to be wearing short, promiscuous clothes. And she was thinking, and I'm like, if you thought that, why did you not think to message me and say, hey, make sure you wear something modest, and explain what modest was? Because based off of what she assumed I was going to come dressed as, you were going to be okay with me dressed half naked in front of your kids, which also looks bad because they're thinking, why is this teacher wearing hardly any clothes? Your standards for me were so low that you thought that I wasn't going to be professional enough as a teacher to come dressed appropriately to teach. Now, granted, I heard that Gen Z don't know how to dress for an interview, so I don't know, maybe y'all do have these issues. But I'm just on the cusp of being Gen Z myself. I'm barely a millennial. So, I don't know what y'all issue is. Maybe y'all were just raised different. Maybe it made a difference that 1-2 years or whatever. But Anyway, long story short, that's insulting. Now, if you're stupid, you can see this, oh wow, she thinks that I'm being Japanese. But I recognize I don't dress modestly because I like Japan. I'm a Christian, and I'm also an American. I was raised appropriately, and before this new generation of pretending like crop tops are not meant to give you sex appeal to men, I was raised with the mindset of cover your goods, because the reason why you show your goods is for male attention, which is true. So I have the same modesty and manners that you all have. It's not because I'm acting like you, or I was raised in Japan, or I've lived there for a long time, because at that time I'd only been here for a few years. I just know better. Because I was raised better. So I do better. And also have something called common sense. And also I feel like as a woman, naturally, you feel a little bit vulnerable walking outside and all your goods hanging out. Like something inside of you tells you that this is wrong. Like the Adam and Eve effect. Realizing, oh, look, we're naked. Like it feels the same way. I cannot see myself walking outside with my body exposed. Like even if I was thin, I wouldn't want to do that. So anyway, and then like if you do it, fine. I don't support it, but it's like, come on, show up to a teaching job. The bar was that low for me, and then you weren't even gonna tell me? Anyway, so yeah, I'm done with this video. I'm just really, again, people make up scenarios all the time to pat themselves on the back. That story may have never taken place. A Japanese person may have never said that to them. That may have never happened at Costco, period. They may not even be Japanese. I'm just assuming that the story is true. For the sake of the video, let's say that it is. Do y'all not see how that's a backhanded compliment? And I was ignorant that the person that was receiving the compliment didn't correct the person. She accepted it, and then she loved it so much, she went home and tweeted or threaded, whatever you call it, about it. Y'all don't think that's weird? And again, I could never do that as an American. Imagine if I were to say, I went to the bathroom and I washed my hands with soap and water, and I did it for about 20 to 30 seconds. And then I noticed the Asian person next to me, she washed her hands for 40 seconds with soap and water. She even turned the water to hot, because this is a fancy bathroom. They have hot water here. And I say to her, are you an American? And she tells me, no, actually I'm Japanese. What makes you think that? Oh, because I noticed you washed your hands after you used the bathroom. And you used hot water. And you used the soap. Japanese people never wash their hands. And when they do, they never wash for more than 3 seconds. And you use soap. And you even knew that hot water actually cleans your hands rather than cold water. Would she have taken that as a compliment? What do y'all think? Sachiko would have gone off of my ass. Rip me a new one. Let me know. Well, actually, Japanese people, we wash our hands too. Or she might even awkwardly laugh. Whatever. But she would not go home and tweet about that. And be like, oh yeah, Americans are so clean that when they saw me washing my hands properly, they told me they never see Japanese people do that. If anything, they might say, apparently the image of Japanese people is so bad abroad, I went into this bathroom and this black girl, Shaniqua, whatever, she came up to me and she thought that I was American because she'd never seen a Japanese person properly wash their hands. They would take that as negative critique and huddle together and be like, look y'all, we need to fix our reputation. But for some reason, they don't realize when they're being ignorant towards you. There ain't no way in hell, I didn't even think that. But if I were to think it, I'd have enough common sense to not say something like that. But that's literally what this Costco chick allegedly did. And again, I have doubts about whether this girl is really Japanese, or at least 100%, because the fact that this person was expecting you not to pick it up, that insinuates that you must not have looked Japanese, which makes me think that you were either not Japanese because you're actually an American and you're not Asian at all, or 2, you are half Japanese, thus I understand this a lot better. Because like I said, it's really funny. I'm making another video about this topic, but I noticed that a lot of people that are half Japanese, they have this inner turmoil where they're mad that they're not accepted by the Japanese side, and they pretending like they're different from that other foreign side of them, so to speak, even if they were raised in the US. So, for example, they pretend to be experts and know everything about Japanese culture, even though they were born and or raised in the U.S., or if they weren't born there, they spend a significant portion of their life there. And they do still have one parent that's not Japanese. For example, my own kids. They will not be raised fully like a Japanese person, just by going to Japanese school, because they have me as their mom. I'm a black American, and they will have differences between the food they have, the religion that they have. There will be differences in their life. They might be born and raised here, but there will be differences. In fact, we will spend at least a year, if not a few years, in the U.S., which will also take away from time they would have spent living, going to school, and maybe even working, depending on how old they are, in Japan. So, It's nothing to be ashamed of, but I am saying that I find it funny that, like, they try to other themselves as though they're 100% Japanese, like they can't relate to anything American. And, for example, like that person, instead of realizing that while she's praising your Japanese half, she's insulting your American half. A half compliment is a whole insult. That should be a t-shirt. A half compliment is a whole insult. There's no way of going around that. For example, like with a couple. You can't, somebody did this in my comment section. You cannot praise me while insulting my husband. If you hate my husband, you hate me too. He's me. I'm him. You cannot like me and dislike him. Sure, granted, under normal circumstances, you can tell yourself that you do. But if I find out that you do, if I see that you're treating him worse than you're treating me, if I see or hear that you feel that way, we done. He your enemy, I'm your enemy too. We're one. We're married. And the same thing goes, like, you know, with family too. If you have a good family, at least. If somebody doesn't like your sibling, I learned this from my mother, and I agree with it. Somebody cannot dislike your mother or dislike your siblings. If they don't like your mama, they don't like your siblings, they cannot possibly properly love you too. You shouldn't trust them. Anyone that is an enemy of your family is an enemy of you. And with that said, if somebody's praising one half of your ancestry while insulting the other half, if you have a brain and stop trying to be Japanese so fucking bad, you should take offense to that. If somebody were to say to you, for example, my children, somebody were to say to my children, oh, like, you know, you have, I don't know, such, I can't even think of a future. Whatever, something specific, or, like, oh, let me use this. You're so articulate. It must be because of, you know, your father being Japanese. That's why you're so smart. Now, granted, I can understand my child wanting to, you know, feel good about that. They just called me smart. They called me articulate. That feels good, right? But then when you think about it, they're highlighting their Japanese parent. They're implying that because their mother is black, being me, that they're ignorant from my half, that I couldn't have made them intelligent. I couldn't have helped them become articulate. It had to have come from their Asian father, because it's impossible for that to have come from me. That's insulting. If you're black, something that you're probably used to hearing, especially if you've seen people or you have the same hair as me, people refer to like 3B, 3C hair, like what I have, as good hair, or as we used to call it, good hair, and white people hair, or mixed hair, which is funny because there are white people with hair like this, but it's a very rare thing. But anyway, growing up, people refer to my hair as white people hair, wavy hair, good hair, etc. And it referred to my hair being like this because of my mother. Now, mind you, my parents raised in a different time. They're baby boomers. I'm a millennial. And with that said, they didn't take offense to it. Like, my mom knew that it was an ignorant statement to make, but she understood they were trying to compliment, whatever. However, of course, I learned as I got older, realistically, what they're saying is, you're insulting my father because these are my father's family members. You're basically saying, and my father doesn't have 4 type. I think my father has 3C hair too. But he either has 3C or 4A hair. I don't really know. It might be 4A. But long story short, they're basically insinuating that my hair is good because of the whiteness, because of the Asian, the Pacific Islander, whatever the mix is that I have from my mom's DNA. It's my mom's non-blackness that made my hair good. And me having more afro-like hair that grows upwards rather than downward, that would make my hair bad. Bad hair being anything that, you know, closely resembles African hair. And the looser the pattern, the, you know, more, how can I put it, silky the strands, because my hair is, you know, shiny, the silky, like, look, whatever, that's good hair. You're insinuating that I look good because of the things that make me closer to whiteness or Asianness or something else that's non-black. Likewise, you're also insulting me by saying that the black half of me will be the bad half. You're saying that my father didn't give me good genes, but my mother did, basically is what you're saying to me. So you're actually saying that half of me isn't good, and the other half is. I may not have 4 type hair, but I have a father who does. So when you're insulting that hair, you're insulting what makes me. My ancestors, who are the reason why I have the freedoms and the rights and the passport that I have today, the reason I'm even able to live in Japan with ease today, because of the hard work they did for free, the abuse and terror and the essays that they went through and the R's that they went through for me to be where I am today. So when you insult somebody that has dark skin or that has 4 type hair, etc., I take offense to that. Because while it might not be me, my sister does. My grandparents do. You see what I'm saying? So I just wish they would understand this more, and hopefully my children do as well, because I'll make sure that I teach them these things too. This is another problem that irritates me. I feel like a lot of the black men here, especially the Africans and Caribbean people, it doesn't even cross their mind. Like they either raise their kids to like feel like they're Japanese, or they don't really think to talk about these topics. Because I noticed, no offense to those of you guys that are watching this video, but I'm just gonna keep it real, I've talked about this in other videos too. I don't know when you'll see those videos, but I have to just call a spade, call it what it is. I noticed that people that are raised by non-black mothers that are, that are mixed race, they have a very hard time understanding what they are and loving both sides of themselves. They struggle with it a lot. And I find that people that have a black father and a Japanese mother in particular here in Japan, they have a lot of identity issues, and a lot of them hate their black side. So it's not everyone, but a lot of them do, including some people that are famous here, but I ain't gonna say no names. So yeah, and so I understand the confusion and the fact that it sucks that you are only accepted by the black community for the most part, and the other half of you, they kind of treat you, they other you. We are starting to do this now too in the black community. There's a lot of people that are separating biracials, and to be honest, I feel like that should have always been done. To a certain degree, I believe they're both black and they're both Asian, but I do think they do need their own space because they have unique issues that you don't have as a black person and you don't have as a white person. And I learned this firsthand because y'all keep swearing that I'm biracial when I'm not. So I can only imagine my kids are going to go through. But anyway, I'm done, you guys. That's it. All I want to say for this video is, yeah, that's a backhanded compliment. It's not the praise that you think it is. And if you're smart as a Japanese woman or a biracial woman, whatever the fuck you want to be today, you should take offense to that because they literally just insulted the other half of you. And if you're not American at all and you're 100% Japanese, as somebody that learned how to speak English and you're literally writing to an American audience, which is why you actually wrote your thread in English rather than Japanese, you should also stand up for American people, because I'm sure that you also notice that the majority of people around you, when they drop things or touch something, they put it back where it belongs rather than put it in the wrong spot. And in this case, we're talking about food and drink. You can argue with me that people don't normally put things back where it belongs at the store, which I would even disagree with you on that part too. But there ain't no way in hell you're going to convince me that the average person that drops food or drink just lets it sit there, doesn't tell anyone, doesn't pick it up, doesn't apologize, and just goes on about their day. Get the fuck out of here. And you're a fucking food vendor person at Costco. That is a lowly job. I'm sorry to break it to you, but I say that to make my point. The likelihood of you ever even having the money to go to America to experience such a thing, because you have to have a lot of experience to be able to say that the majority of us don't do this, right? I doubt you have that experience. But like I said, let's say that you do. So you mean to tell me that you worked at Costco? Because there aren't many places in the U.S. that offer samples. You have to have worked at like Costco, Sam's Club, Meijer. There's some other random places. Whole Foods sometimes has samples. There aren't a million American stores that offer them as a regular thing. So I'm thinking to myself, where did this experience come from? How did you come to this racist conclusion? Because this is the first that I'm hearing. I'm an American myself, and I worked retail for years. Please enlighten me, inform me. Some people just make up shit just to go, and this didn't go viral, FYI, but the goal is to do. They want to start a conversation, make people get mad, make people praise Japan. They have this weird Japan boner where they just love hearing you tell them how wonderful and great and good their country is, to the point where they will make up shit about other countries to praise their own. How big of an ego do you have to do that? But they do. So I have never in my life gotten on social media and made up a story about how somebody assumed that I was American because of how I had one story like that to tell. That was the only one that I ever told. But that was a real example. My second day here, no, it was my first day here. I went to Sakura House's management, whatever building, because I was signing my lease and everything. And I held open the door for a Japanese person that was behind me. And they asked me, like, are you an American? And I was like, yeah, like, how do you know? And they was like, yeah, like, I figured that you were, because I had good manners. I was chivalrous. I opened up the door, I held it for the other person. Because for me, it's like, it's rude to let the door slam in the other person's face. I know that they don't do that shit here, but I can't do it. Like, as an American, there's some things that I just can't stop doing. Sometimes I do, sometimes I match them, I match their energy, but generally speaking, I normally try to hold the door for them, even when they don't thank me, like the rude bitch inside my building. We're not going to talk about her. But anyway, back on subject. But, yeah, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of it. Like, stop making up shit about us. If you want to praise Japan, praise Japan. Leave America the fuck out of it. We're not even thinking about you all. Stop. It's so annoying. And when we do, we praise you all on social media. Why is there this America hate train? Y'all are literally using our platforms. When you bitch about the US, make sure you do it on your platform that doesn't exist. Twitter, Threads, Facebook, Instagram. The only thing that you can technically use is TikTok, but I'd also argue that if we look deep down inside, how did they get branched off outside of China? It probably leads you back to America for that too. So it's like, It just drives me so crazy that the amount of disrespect for you to be using our platforms, and the fact that it's unprovoked. We don't get on Twitter and talk about how horrible and shitty and bad life in Japan is. Like, the majority of people are not telling you, oh, we don't talk. Look, my channel was an anomaly. The average channel that exists out here on YouTube, and these YouTube streets on Instagram, TikTok, is full of bullshit, lying and praising. Everything tastes good, everything's wonderful. Ooh, only in Japan. That's like 99% of the content out there. I'm an anomaly, and at least when I talk about my shit, I give facts, I back stuff up, and I give praise and credit where it's due. They don't do that. When they talk about their country, they have to compare it to yours, and it's only to say something negative about yours or praising their own. Always. Every time. What's up with that weird obsession with that? And they normally do it to fish compliments or to pat themselves on the back. Yeah, like somebody thought that, I must have been whatever, but actually, I was Japanese, and they told me that they knew I was Japanese because that's why, we're so kind and polite, and Americans are horrible, so they knew that I couldn't have been an American person because Americans could never do such a thing. And it's like, Now, if I said the same thing in reverse, the Japanese would gang up on me. The white people would too. They'd be like, oh, that's not true. I've been living in Japan for 30 years and they always do X, Y, and Z. But they could say any ridiculous thing about us and y'all will agree with it. Because if I recall, the comments on there, people were agreeing. Like, it gets a shame. Like, I love Japan. They're so polite and so clean, so well-mannered. So you mean to tell me, after all the years you've been alive, 18, 20 plus years in America, as an American watching this video, whatever respective country you come from, you have seen more people drop food or drink and do nothing and tell no one and not apologize than you have seen people do something to clean it up, tell someone about the mess, apologize. You really mean to tell me that? Come on. Y'all could be weeboos and want to move to Japan so desperately. But can we draw the line somewhere and stop with the fucking lies? You can love Japan and praise your country or praise the country that you want to go. I love Japan. That's why I live here. I just got the phone with my uncle and he had a whole conversation. It was so funny because he has no idea about my YouTube channel. He was talking to me about how I heard that, it's so safe and clean there. And y'all know me. But I was like, you know what? We're going to keep this conversation positive. I was like, yeah, it is a lot cleaner. I talked about the good because it is true. Overall, yeah, sure. But I also talk about the real aspect. Like, sure, visually it looks clean, but it ain't really clean. And yeah, fine. It's safe to a certain degree, much safer than the U.S. For example, like I said, I can wear my rings. Like, I would never walk outside. I'm from Roseland. Ain't no way in hell I'm going outside. That's one of the most dangerous cities in all the United States. I ain't going outside with these damn rings on. They would cut off my finger for these shits. I couldn't even wear my LeBron soldiers. I would be walking home barefoot and fingerless. Which is also funny that there's a finger high school there too. But anyway, long story short, I would have no finger and no shoes by the time that I get back home. From just going to the convenience store or some shit. I'm good, alright? I recognize there are some differences here. But I can also acknowledge that is a bad ghetto ass neighborhood. There are good places you can live in Chicago too, which is where I was living before I came here to Japan. I was not living in the hood prior to coming here. I lived in the suburbs, so what was it? June, July, August, September, October, November. I spent 6 months living in a good neighborhood before I came here. But anyway, back on subject. I'm done, you guys. I'm done. So, yeah, it's a shame that people can't just praise their country without insulting the U.S. They can't make their point without making up stories and lying about stuff and reinventing literally, where did that stereotype come from? When since have Americans ever been labeled as spilling and dropping food and drink and not cleaning up behind? And like I said, I know there are people that litter. I know that there are people that purposely do this type of crap. I'm not denying that. But that can also be said for Japan too. And also, there's a difference in how Americans act outside versus inside. But even outside, the reality is we have tourists and people that leave and contribute to the trash. So it's not always people that live that are contributing to it. Not to mention, even then, well, yes, there are areas in Chicago that are dirty, just like how New York. Even then, I'm sorry, the majority of places that you are going to walk by, it's not going to be littered and full of trash and gunk and garbage. That's not true. It's fun to say these things, but the average place in America, even in big cities, is not full of garbage and a wasteland. Sure, if you're around homeless people, you're probably going to see garbage and crap there, but generally speaking, walking down the streets of Chicago. And even when I went to New York, there was not garbage everywhere lining the streets. It's a fucking lie. Now granted, you go further out somewhere else, I'm sure there is more trash, but even then, the majority of people throw away their garbage, which is why there isn't more garbage on the street. If most people littered in New York, and most people left their trash wherever it was, or just threw their crap everywhere, there would be way more junk around the streets than there already is, if you think there's a lot now. That's nothing in comparison to how many people live in New York. Likewise, same thing goes for Tokyo. The majority of people also throw away their trash. That's why it's not as dirty as it could be. They literally have a whole team of old people, people that are opening up their stores, that clean up the streets every early morning, late night. So, I'm done, you guys. I'm through with this video. That's all. Like I said, I'm not going to deny the fact that, yes, Japanese people generally do treat stores better. They are less likely to... Like, I've never gone to a store where it was like a pigsty, except for Shimamoto. That's different. And Uniqlo could be a little bit messy, like Uniqlo and GU, but generally speaking, like those stores, too, like, everything's in its spot. Shimamoto is the only place where it could be a little bit messy. It's kind of comparable to, like, a cleaned up Marshall's or Burlington coat factory is like what I would compare that to. But still, it's not like as messy as those stores get, but similar, slightly. And I would even argue Don Quixote can go into that category a little bit too, depending on which location you go to. But generally speaking, they do not put things back in the wrong spot, and they are more respectful. I'll give them props there. But you could say more and not say all of us do this one thing and, oh, you're an anomaly. Wow, you cleaned up behind yourself. Like we're fucking dogs. Please stop with that narrative. You wouldn't want us doing that to you. So, and if the story is true, stop making up shit altogether. And if you are Japanese, maybe the Americans or other foreigners saw this are stupid enough to praise you for sharing that story and shit on the US, but I actually see your comment as being ignorant. Because you feel good about yourself because you think that you're more mannerable and civilized than an American when you're not, just by the fact that you shared that and felt proud of yourself for sharing it. That was ignorant. Especially when you as an English speaker yourself, because you wrote your little thread in English, which makes me question what you really are, it also leads me to believe you believe that. And you're an English speaker, which means that you likely spent time, according to, what you tweeted, around Americans. So you know that's not true, but you didn't stand up for the people that you knew that not to be true about. Interesting, because we stand up for you all when many of us have never even been to Japan. The amount of Americans that are like fucking stan accounts for Japan, hardcore weeboos in my comment section and others, is astounding. It's crazy. It's amazing. People that have never been here that have so many strong opinions on how perfect and wonderful and optimistic the views are of Japan. They will defend you all when you won't do it to them. So my question is, why don't y'all do it back? Because they lie on y'all behalf. And you're literally lying to insult us, to pat yourself on the back, to praise you for shit that y'all don't do any differently than anyone else. I saw another video that, it was a video that I saw on, I don't know what they call it, Facebook. What do they call them? They're not reels, whatever they are. Is it Facebook reels? I don't know. Anyway, long story short, one of those little short videos. Somebody literally uploaded a video showing that they have free samples to try out skincare products in Japanese stores. Ma'am. And the title of the video was like, only in Japan, something like that. And it's like, is this like satire or some shit? Are you serious? They likely got the idea to have samples from America. Are you fucking kidding me right now? I swear I'm trying to be a hater, but it's like, why do they make up this shit? We have free samples to try out lotion at our stores too, and makeup too. And I should also add, the average Japanese person does not use the samples at the store. I should add that too. Generally speaking, nobody ever touches it. And if they do, it's some old raggedy sample that's been sitting there for the longest, for ages. And most items do not offer samples for you to try. I do like to try them, and some people do use them, but they're not used very often. I would argue that Americans are more likely to use a sample than a Japanese person is for a skincare product or a makeup product. So this whole fascination with praising the country for doing, like even the vending machines. It's not that we don't have this technology, but we don't need it. Why the fuck would you want to pay more money for an item at a vending machine when you can go to a fucking convenience store? Not to mention, we put we put vending machines in places where they're actually needed. In Japan, they're everywhere because there's a lack of grocery stores and people do a lot of walking here. So it's just not practical for us to have vending machines or more of them. Just like with arcades. They kind of got phased out and people started having consoles and video games to play at home. So So much more can be said about this. I'm through, you guys. Please stop shitting on America. You can love Japan without talking crap about the US. We ain't saying shit about you all, and you're making up crap. Like, there's no way in hell that you work at Costco in Japan, and you're also pretending like you apparently either have experience working at some sort of store that also offers samples, where you had enough experiences with Americans not cleaning up behind themselves, that you can have that judgment. Because if you want to argue that it's the Americans that visit your store in Japan, even that, how do you know that they're American? Do the customers tell you before they grab a sample, hey, by the way, I'm an American? Like, I highly doubt that. Not to mention, the majority of customers inside of Costco, just like IKEA, are going to be Japanese at any given time. Will you see more foreigners there? Yes. But I would also argue the foreigners that can even afford to go to Costco, that have a car, have a driver's license, bought a membership, are going to be married to a Japanese person, normally more assimilated into the culture, and even if they were not, just basic human decency and manners, they will pick up their trash. Granted, if there's somewhere to throw it away, and if it's, not a liquid where they need to have an imaginary paper towel, we will at least alert someone. And also, it's kind of not your job to do it if you do make a mess. It is your job, morally, to tell somebody, hey, I made a mess, like, I'm sorry, like, somebody clean this up, and to apologize. But to demonize and make it sound like they're rude and bad people for not cleaning it up, what are you supposed to do? Like, take off your pants and mop the floor with them or something? Like, I'm done. Let me have one more thing that I did not think of earlier, but also just think about this. Look at how confident, bold, ignorant, and insulting that is. Costco is an American company. You, as a Japanese person, are working for an American company, and you're thinking these racist thoughts inside of your mind and stereotyping foreigners, specifically Americans. Can you imagine the outrage if in the US you were to be working for some sort of Japanese company and you're literally telling the customers that the customers are coming to the store that ignorant statement? Like, do you hear yourself? You are literally telling people an insulting comment about the nationality of the country's people that you are serving. And it's not like she actually had an experience with this. It's made up and exaggerated. How many Americans have you dealt with that have knocked over food and drink and didn't pick it up behind themselves? And the only thing that I can give a little bit of a pass to again would be drink. But even then, I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 people alerted the staff, hey, I spilled this, can you clean it up? Because just like Japanese people, Americans don't walk around with a fucking mop in their backpack to clean up liquids. Granted, we will look for a napkin or alert staff. What do you expect us to do? Why do we live rent-free inside of everybody's mind? It's so weird. Like, even unprovoked. This chick literally just threw away her trash. Nobody asked you to give your story. Because in fact, like I said earlier, I cannot tell you how many times I've honestly been shocked when I saw an Asian person actually wash their hands. And I'm saying Asian, not just Japanese, because overall, they do not wash their hands after using the restroom. The only time they feel the need to clean their hands is when they poop. They don't care if they're in their own home or out in public. And I think both are disgusting because you're touching all of these different surfaces, including your face, but all the different things around your home. And granted, if you want to be gross inside your own home, that's great. But living in a share house with them or working with them has been disgusting. Because I constantly have to wash my hands because all the surfaces that they've touched are contaminated. I'm not even trying to be racist, but just keeping it real. If you ever want to wonder how COVID spread, come to Japan, or I'd probably say any country in Asia, and you will quickly figure out how. That's all I have to say to that. But just back to what I was saying. Look at the disrespect there. You're working for an American company, and you're teaching people stereotypes about Americans. And she didn't even know what nationality this girl was. The fact that she said that to you, she must have assumed that you were an American. And she felt comfortable saying that to you. I would not work at fucking Issarant in New York and say to somebody who I perceive to be Japanese, say, hey, wow, you actually washed your hands, used the hot water and the hand soap? Yeah, I lived in Japan. I actually lived there. I wouldn't be lying. I lived in Japan for 10 years, and I've never seen one of you guys do that. Wow, you must have been living in America for a long time. You see how insulting that would be? And that would actually be the truth. But anyway, wouldn't be entirely the truth. I've seen them wash their hands before, but it is not a very common thing. And when they do, first of all, hot water is not available. Hand soap is normally not available. Most people actually don't carry around a hand towel these days, but I will say some do. But who cares about a hand towel? I just care if your hands are clean. I don't care about how you get your hands dried. The reality is most of them do not use the water at all. And when they do a 2-second quick wash. So anyway, we're not going to talk about that. That's for another video. But just like thinking about that, the audacity. You're in our house, our space, and you're being not only insulting. It's one thing for you to call out somebody's rude behavior in the moment. You're telling a customer that's not related to what you previously saw about how you're impressed with their mediocrity of having good manners. And it's also ignorant that your goal, for what's considered as good manners doesn't even make sense in this scenario. Because again, if somebody spills a drink, how do they clean it up inside of a store? They're not even allowed to touch the mop, even if the mop is right there. Their job would be to alert a staff member. In fact, they might be in the process of trying to find a staff member that can actually clean it up. And you may have taken it as they left the mess there, but they actually went to go and alert someone. There ain't no way in hell you have enough experience with Americans to actually give an opinion on that. Yes, I know that some Americans do go to Costco, even that are tourists and on vacation, etc. But again, if we're going to play that game, then I can give a whole laundry list of stuff. I mean, look at that Japanese guy that went to Canada doing that perverted stuff inside the women's dorm. So I can go on about this forever, but just think about that, the audacity. This would not be okay if this comment were to be said in reverse. I would not be allowed to say that to a Japanese person, even although I have legitimate experience of living with them, working with them, and dating them. But here goes somebody that's so poor, you're working at Costco as a grown-ass Japanese woman, and you have the audacity to be racist when the company that hired you is American. The irony in this. I'm done, you guys. But like I said, it just crossed my mind. I was like, wait, you're saying this about Americans, and they're literally lining your pockets. Not to mention, let's be real. This chick probably saw somebody do this one time, and maybe no more than twice. And now that became what all Americans do. I have lost count of how many of you all do not wash your hands when you go to the bathroom. I can't keep track of it at all. It's impossible. So, yeah, get the fuck out of here. I have never, and look, I've worked retail for years. I have never seen a single person spill something inside the store. And honestly, even with samples, people are generally pretty good about throwing away their samples. Because unlike in Japan, we actually provide trash cans to throw shit away so people don't have to carry their garbage inside of their purse or in their hands or pockets all day. Let's go there. So, anyway, see, things like this, I have to remind myself, I like Japan and that I gotta ignore the ignorant ass people that do shit like this. But it's you know that your country is inferior when you can't just brag about your country. You always have to, for example, I'm gonna hurt some feelings and get off subject. I find the same problem when dealing with people that are from Jamaica. If you think your country is so wonderful and great, you don't have to compare it to America. Just talk about your own country. I had somebody leave an ignorant comment that was Jamaican in my comment section, and she was saying all of this shit to me, he, she, whatever. I think it was actually a man, I don't know. Saying all this negative, ignorant stuff about how Americans are raised, American this, America that, America that. And I just said, back to response, all I said, simple line. I hope that you take the same, time to basically, study Jamaican politics or Jamaican stereotypes. Since you have all these stereotypes about America, that was my sentence back in response. Do you know that this heifer got mad at me? Don't insult my country. Oh, so it's okay for you to stereotype me when you don't know shit about me. And you changed the subject of my video because I wasn't talking about America or politics. But if I tell you, instead of you pocket watching the U.S., mind your little Caribbean island. Now that hurt your little feelings. Well, you're going to be in for a surprise when that video gets posted because I said much worse than that. But anyway, I just find it interesting that people that live in glass houses love to throw bricks. People love to throw rocks and hide their hands. And then when you get ready to hit them with one, oh, don't hit me. I'm sensitive. I'm innocent. Don't say such a bad thing about me. Filipinos got mad. Sorry, y'all gonna catch this L again. You're mad at me for calling out your people for mostly being colorist, racist, and prejudiced and having mean girl, bully, cliquish behavior. Talking shit about people in front of their face and giving them names. Y'all know what the fuck I'm talking about. Don't play dumb with me. You're mad at me for calling you out. You're going to use reverse psychology and try to say, oh, well, you're just as bad as them. No. It's not even remotely the same thing. Me telling you what you did to me is not stereotyping you. I'm telling you what you did. That would be like me telling you you're stereotyping black people if you're telling a story about how a black guy robbed you. It's not a stereotype. That was your experience. He did rob you. It doesn't matter that he's black. He happens to be black, but this is what he did. If you keep getting robbed by black people and you say, hey, black people in this area keep robbing me, that's not stereotyping. You're telling exactly what the fuck happened. It's also interesting. I'll make a video about that later. I'm actually going to do it later today. You were completely on board with me, as you said in your own words, stereotyping Japanese people. But the moment that I do it to Filipinos, it's not cool anymore. You had nothing to say about it when I did it to black people, nothing to say about it when I did it to Japanese people. But the line is drawn when Filipinos get talked about. Get the fuck out of here. Keep that same energy for your own people. How about you teach your friends and family to stop being colorist, stop being racist? You're more mad at me for telling you about my experience dealing with racists than you are at the racist for being racist. I have the same argument with white people. It's funny to see Asians do the exact same thing. I'm done. Back to the video. They'll move the goalposts every time. You're polite by Japanese standards. It's not polite enough. So, and then it's like, in this scenario, just be grateful that they picked it up. Well, why you gotta bring up the whole American thing and just even suggest, oh, are you American? You must be an American. You're the first person I've ever seen do this. How many people get Butterfingers inside your store that are dropping their samples? Get the fuck out of here. But I'm done, y'all. Leave your 2 cents down below, your experiences. Do you notice people do this? Do they not? What's your thoughts on it? As always, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Comic95. The links for everything are in the description box down below. Please consider supporting me on Patreon for $5 per month. Again, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And check out my YouTube channel's homepage. I have videos on working, studying, dating, and living here in Japan. And that's all for now. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for watching. And I hope you'll watch another video.